So this comes from lived experiences?
Yes, actually. So what makes it interesting for me as a designer is to think that the best solutions come from actually understanding the problems, if you can personally, otherwise very intimately, and become an expert on the issue and the problem itself.
So let's start at the beginning. What made you decide to research this? Was there an experience you had that started the whole thing?
Yes, and maybe it's too much information, but so I was going on this kayak trip with a bunch of friends, and I didn't really plan it to be on my period, but it just happened to be on my period. And we were going to these twin islands near Deep Cove here in British Columbia, and honestly, it didn't cross my mind. I guess it had not happened before, and I just had my cup, my Diva cup with me, which is I've been using it for a few years now. And it wasn't until I arrived to the island and realized there was just one outhouse for everyone in that island, and that I had the need to change it, that I was like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? So I just panicked, and I grabbed my partner and I told him, like, you're gonna have to come with me in the outhouse, and you're gonna have to help me get this out and help me clean it.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that I just kept thinking, there has to be a better way to do this. Like, there is a need
Yeah.
for someone to look at this.
So that experience kickstarted your research on the whole thing. So that understandably kickstarted all of your thinking and research into this. Walk me through how it all began and the process you started out with.
So in product design, we learn that the very first thing that we need to do is conduct some secondary research. So what that means is that you're not talking to anyone in particular, but you are researching the web, any scientific papers, products, everything that is currently out there. So that's what I did for 4 months. Just read a bunch of things everywhere online and just gather all of these to validate the need. And what was very surprising for me to find at this stage was that I had a bias. I thought that menstrual cups, being a sustainable option, would be either the most used or like the second most used. But to my surprise, they're only the fourth most used product. And the top ones continue to be disposable tampons and pads. So that really led me to raise the question, like, what's happening? And validate the fact that there was a gap there.
Yeah. So if Diva cups are the best resource, then why aren't they the most popular used item?
And that's a great question. So what I did to answer it, on the secondary research, there was absolutely nothing about anyone asking women about the experience after the fact of using the products. So they all focused on, what you need for it before or inserting, but nothing after. So it was a challenge for me that I solved by going into blogs and social media, and I read thousands of comments of women, and I had to filter and find keywords. And what I found, one of the main words was fear and uncertainty, which led me to understand that it's not because they don't want to adopt the cups. It's simply there's a lot of gaps in educating us on how to use them, how they work, and obviously a lot of cultural and personal things that maybe prevent them from being using them. And another thing that I learned was from doing some surveys online. It was that they just didn't know how would they even clean it outdoors. And this is coming from people who actually go outdoor hiking, and they were like, I used it and I just wouldn't even know. So when I go hiking, I'll just rather use a tampon or a pad, which I feel comfortable just disposing of.
Yeah. So how many women completed this survey online?
So I had the interview done, and then I thought that I would get way more responses, but I wanted them to be quality participants.
Yeah.
So at the end, I had 10 semi-structured interviews, and I targeted experienced hikers. So people who regularly go outdoors and not only hiking, but also camping,
Yeah.
and spend long periods of time outdoors. And what was interesting when I talked to these 10 people is that someone mentioned it, and I like to quote them, it was a logistical nightmare. And even though other people didn't use the same words, you could understand they felt the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And what specifically led her to call it a logistical nightmare, you know?
Yes. So when you are out there and there's perhaps not even an outhouse and you're squatting in the backcountry between some bushes and you're just trying to be safe from wildlife and other people,
Yeah.
you're in a very vulnerable position and you have like your toilet paper and then you have your hand sanitizer and then you have to think about the cup and everything that goes with it and how to clean it, and then just carrying all of these and not even knowing where you're gonna put it on the floor, and also having on the back of your mind, what if my cup just slits or like I drop it. It's just becoming like a lot more of thinking and the logistics of all of these, and you also need to plan it ahead of time from when you leave home.
Yeah.
What do I need to bring to do all of this? So I think that's really what prompted her to say it like that.
Yeah. There's a lot to deal with.
A lot.
So you compiled all this data, and what was the moment you realized that you actually needed to start designing something?
It was a difficult process because I actually had an expectation that perhaps a product existed out there and then I could just improve it
Yeah.
or work from there as a starting point. But from my research, there was absolutely nothing. So that means that I had to do product development. And that gave me a lot of false starts because I had biases, of course, from my own personal experiences. But then from the interviews, I then learned that the solutions that I had in mind, for example, something wearable, like something around your neck so you wouldn't have to look for a place to place the things on the floor, or something like you will wear on your hand, weren't the solution that women needed. So that's why it's very important to talk to the users,
Yeah.
and understand their needs. And it wasn't until one day I was ideating at home with some bobby pins that I realized that the solution could be much simpler than that. And what if I just design a cup holder, like literally adding a holder to your little menstrual cup,
Yeah.
so then that you don't have to worry about where to put it or for him to falling on the floor.
Yeah. Great. So it sounds like you had a few options. No, wait a minute. So it sounds like you had a few ideas
Yeah.
for options. So what was, oh yeah, okay. So it sounds like you have a few ideas for options. What was the one that you ultimately came to for the solution?
So I was very excited with the holder, but I realized also from the research that that wasn't everything that needed to exist. So really what the solution design is, it's a system of different things, including the holder. Something that I want to share and for other people to know is women prefer to have backup items, including pads,
Yeah.
and tampons, just in case.
Mhm.
So even though if you use the menstrual cup, you also want to carry those. And that led me to, okay, so I don't only need the holder, but they also need the items to clean it. And how do I make this sustainable? So this is
Mhm.
kind of like a very rough prototype of the bag that I was thinking of. And this is the holder.
This is it.
Yeah, so you want to hold it
Very
there.
good.
And the system really consists on the holder,
Mhm.
and then squish bottle for you to
Clean it
clean the
with.
cup,
Yeah.
and then some reusable cloths made out of cotton or hemp, which are very easy to sanitize. It's the same material that you use on reusable panties, like period,
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah, underwear.
And that
So
fits in here somewhere?
yes, correct. So it will all live within one space. And the solution is this system of a bag that you can just carry with you, and it's like ready to go. You can place it on mud, rocks, logs.
Oh yeah, perfect.
So
So
it
you just
is,
pop this in your backpack and good to go.
yes, so it is still a work in progress. We will have the final one to do further testing, but at the moment, so this is the solution.
Very good.
You see how it's staying there?
Yeah, doesn't move.
Yeah.
So while you're doing other things, this is safe and clean.
Yes, so that gives you the freedom
Yeah,
to use both of your hands to do
to
whatever,
put things away or use your wipes or
clean yourself,
yeah,
whatever you need to do without
exactly.
having to worry about the cup.
Perfect.
Yes. And then,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
There you
We'll
go.
edit that part out.
Yeah, there you go.
So did you test this yourself?
I did. So I went up to the mountain because I wanted to get real feedback from
Yeah.
people who have hiked and camped in different situations. So I went up to Seymour Mountain here in British Columbia, and I was very hopeful that I'll get at least one person to participate, and I was lucky enough to have 3 participants to test it
Yeah.
in the snow and in an actual environment. I gave them, obviously, I wouldn't ask them to remove their cup and clean it, but I gave them a substitute for the blood.
Okay.
And they cleaned it using the system. And it was great to have their feedback. I think it's the most valuable thing that I could have received.
Yeah.
And as a designer, it's very reassuring when it's proven and validated. And not only that, I also had the opportunity to have other two participants to test it in a public bathroom, which, it opens the door to use it in different environments.
Yeah, that's handy. So, and how are the results?
Surprisingly, very positive.
Great.
So 5 out of 5 said that they would definitely use this product outdoors, which made me very happy. It's nerve-wracking to ask someone, will you even use this product as a designer? And I was very happy to see that it is actually something that would work. So yeah, it was very positive, and it led to some changes on the system, for example, like sizing and position of the things. But overall, it was a really good testing experience.
Just some tweaks.
Just like minor tweaks. Yeah.
Perfect. And so could you say that this product has benefits outside of directly servicing menstruating women?
Absolutely. I think beyond the actual problem that it's solving of how to clean the cup, we are talking a very important topic, which is gender equity, especially in the outdoor spaces. So if you go out and try, I don't know, to make or any outdoor shop, there is a lot of things designed to make it comfortable out there, but not a specific one for women, for our specific needs.
Yeah.
So gender equity of having an option, not just hacks. So there is a systemic gap on that. So first of all, this one. Second, sustainability.
That's an important one.
Because even though it will be the most sustainable solution,
Yeah.
many women are not adopting it for the reasons that I mentioned before, like
Yeah.
many other barriers. And I want to contribute to remove at least one of those.
Yeah, the familiarity of using disposable products.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And lastly, research representation. So most research doesn't revolve around menstruating people.
No.
Even though we are like over half of the
the people.
population,
Yeah.
which is extreme. So when you actually do this, you find problems that have been overlooked.
Yeah, and that have always been here.
They've always
Yeah.
existed. So yeah, that's why it goes beyond just solving that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And is that the message you want the researchers to hear?
I want to tell everyone who is trying to do a research at any scale that it matters having that information put out there. So even though my research was very small, 10 plus interviews and looking online, what really matters is framing the problem and putting it out there and making people feel heard and actioning all of this. So yeah, really try to look at all of the woman problems that have been overlooked.
So what would you say to someone right now who says, I just don't have the resources to fund a large project, and like, why would I bother?
I will say go for it. Just still do it. Talk to 5, 10 people around you, your group of friends.
Yeah.
At least it will give you a starting point. Blogs where people go and put their doubts, their raw thoughts, and learn from them, and then take it as a starting point and start asking the questions that nobody else is asking.
Ask the people in your life first, maybe, and then
Understand.
you'll learn.
Exactly. So just go for it, even if you don't have any budget.
Okay, and my last question would be, what's next for your work?
So at this moment, as you see, I'm in the final prototyping part. So what's coming is further testing with the final product, just to finalize it before I could manufacture it and offer it to people. And hopefully I can help more women, or just women in general.
Any.
Yeah. I think that's the future for me. Further research into female equity on design and research.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic product, and yeah, there's a lot of benefits for women, for hikers, and beyond, for all the reasons mentioned.
I hope so. Thank you.
Of course. And if someone watching this wants to reach out or collaborate with you or even give feedback, how could they do so?
I would love to hear from anyone who is interested on research or feedback of absolutely anything. They can contact me. I think we'll put it somewhere here on the description, and I'll leave a link to the project. It will be great to hear from other people either working on these or interested on working on women research. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your interest on this.
Of course, of course. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.